Continuing with the American Heritage Society Leo message, we were talking about the zodiac signs in correlation, which are Gemini, Scorpio, Aries, and Sagittarius in regards to elections, a particular brand, automobiles, the years of 100, 10, and 1, God, and Psalm 91. So far, we have talked about the origin of the automobile and its correlation to Century College, which is in White Bear Lake, Minnesota. Now, Minnesota is also a place indigenous to Native Americans. Now, when doing some more research on White Bear Lake in Minnesota, I found that it is one of the largest lakes in Minneapolis, or it has one of the largest lakes in Minneapolis, in the St. Paul metropolitan area. Something about the Paul relevancy in the Bible is highly significant. The lake is known for a legend of the white bear spirit of Manitou Island, relevant to famous humorist and essayist Mark Twain. The 1883 book Life on the Mississippi. So, went from a German engineer to Salem, Massachusetts, to Hartford, California, to also French origins of the 19th century, Greek and Latin, and also Minneapolis, and now White Bear Lake, and a particular spirit which particularly is said to be rumored to be there, and some correlation to the humorist and essayist Mark Twain in his book made in 1883. Now, in 1883, this is when the book was made by Mr. Mark Twain. Before I further on with this man, in correlation to, just common knowledge, 1883 the book was made. Carl Benz founded the three-wheel car in 1885. So 2-year difference. So it can, maybe the book can give some perspective of what was going on around that time. Also, the steam vehicles were operated from 1790 to the 1800s. So before Mr. Mark Twain. And I just find it very interesting. Also, going back into Mark Twain. The abbreviation of his author name, Mark Twain, is MT. And MT is of someone in the medical field. And I'm very sure. His actual name is Samuel Langhorne Clemens, the person who went by the name Mark Twain. Samuel in the Bible can be a Capricorn reference. Langhorne sounds like Longhorn, which is some correlation to the restaurant. And Clemens is in regards to a particular fruit like clementine. Now, it's interesting to find out that this man actually died of a heart attack. Ironic for the MT relevancy and abbreviation. Here are some fun facts about Mr. Mark Twain, aka Samuel Langhorne Clemens. As a newborn, he was not expected to live. His education was limited. He was a riverboat pilot, which kind of propelled him into who he was at that time period because of some sort of tragedy that happened while he was a riverboat pilot. Are you following? He briefly served as a Confederate militia. Let's just go over what we spoke about right there. So this is a man who was told as before he could even speak, before he even brought to this world, that he was supposed to die. He had a limited education. Even with that, he took a very interesting job position, which he did not get to ultimately fulfill in fullness because he had other things to do. God had a different plan for him. And you see how 3 particularly tragic moments in his life, being told he wasn't supposed to live, not having the right access to education, and also working a dangerous job, propelled him into the person he was. To write books which made him famous, even with limited education. Now, what started to get interesting is that finding out that he served as a Confederate militia. Now, at that time period, depending geographically on where you live, is not so surprising, but that just lets the consumer, whomever listens, who does their research, to know that he was working with the southern states. He also struck gold in California. So now you gotta keep in mind that this man came from the southern states, some way somehow made it to the western part of America, and still was lucky enough, even with all the things that were supposed to hinder him, still went to California and randomly found gold. So I don't know if this is a testimony to say that God is real. Now, and the last but not least is that Huckleberry Finn was based on a real character. So to know that one of his characters from his famous books was made into a real character, I'm hypothetically guessing that if you read his books in correlation to the origin of the automobile, there is some correlation as to what was really going on and the type of people who played a part in the automobile manufacturing. What it has to do with schooling, whether you have limited or unlimited, access to education. And how competitive, the automobile market can be, but in correlation to schooling, who's handpicked for these jobs, and also, what is the difference between this particular Century College being 3 hours away from New York and what that really means to their schooling and where they enlist people from? All right, that's the message. Be blessed.